9 days. That's how long it took me to do this project that I'm going to share with you today. Why did it take me 9 days? Because it was a process. It was something I had never done before, and it was a labor of love, that's for sure. And honestly, it's not something that I would ever do to make money, but because it was for my daughter and it was for her first apartment, it saved money and it was fun because I got to do something with my daughter, and now she has an amazing piece of furniture that she will have forever, hopefully, right? My name is Tammy and I'm the Crafty Mompreneur, and I share videos and tips and all things crafty on this channel. Today's video is of me and my oldest daughter taking a table from this to this in 9 days. So let's get into the video. This DIY starts when I saw this table available for free in our local Buy Nothing group. I texted my daughter with an idea that we could turn this table and chairs into something like this for her first apartment. She said okay, so I immediately went and picked it up. The first thing that we did is we went to Lowe's and gathered some stain, some polyurethane, sandpaper, and got to work sanding. To get an idea of how long it took, I did record a few clips. This is after about 5 minutes of sanding. Okay, this is about 15 minutes of sanding. There's what they look like originally. Again, we're just doing the seats. We just have to get those down to the basewood because that's what we're going to stain. The rest is going to be painted. So now we're about 30 minutes in. This is again the original, and 30 minutes in. Okay, now we're about 45 minutes in and I'm almost done. Again, here's what we started with. All right, pretty much done at an hour in. I might just do a little more right here. I'm not sure, but this one's pretty much done. One thing I learned is you definitely want to wear gloves when you're sanding because our fingers got pretty raw when we were sanding by hand. Okay, this is where I'm stopping for now. I might try and do a little bit more today, but we got one partial one left to do. Then we have to sand all over this stuff just lightly, and then paint that and then stain that. So it's a process. Because these chairs had so many grooves and spindles and stuff, we couldn't use a hand sander. We had to do all the sanding by hand, so it took a while. It was like over an hour a chair. Then we took the 4 chairs outside. I hooked up the air compressor and we blew off as much of the dust as we could so that it made it a lot easier to do the next step of getting it prepped to paint. It was actually pretty satisfying and it went by really fast. The next step was to just wipe down all the chairs really well with tack cloth to get off every single little piece of residue that we could. Next, we used some painter's tape and butcher paper to tape off the seats of the chairs because this is the area that we're going to be staining and we don't want to get paint on those. And so yeah, we just taped up all the seats and now they were ready for paint. My husband had picked up this portable paint sprayer at Harbor Freight and I had never used it before, but I actually found it pretty easy to use. So we grabbed the green paint and I poured it all into the container and we got to work painting. It actually went a lot faster than I had anticipated, and now I'm not afraid of using the paint sprayer anymore. But again, it was kind of nerve-wracking. I had never done this before, but you know, got the hang of it and they actually turned out really good. One thing I will say is this used a lot more paint than I think it probably should have because we were trying to do spindles and there was a lot of overspray. Had some paint left in the sprayer, so I wanted to get a first coat on the table legs, so we got those taken off with the crescent wrench. Then once they were off, I gave them a good clean with this Whip It cleaner, and then the next thing was to sand and get them ready and prepped for painting. So again, sanding them, taking them outside, getting them blown off with the air compressor, then using the tack cloth to get off all the little particles of stuff, and then painting them. Once they all had a good first coat of paint, we brought them inside so they could dry out in the heat, but had to run to the store to get more supplies. So here is us going to Lowe's and to get all the things to finish out this project. So while the table was free, we did end up spending about $100 to $150 on supplies once it was all said and done. But the inspiration table was about $600. So I figured that you know, 100, 150 wasn't too bad for a table and chairs. Once we got home, I loaded up the paint sprayer and got a second coat of paint and did the underside of all the chairs, you know, did any touch-ups and pretty much finished up the chairs and all the painting. The next day was a moment of truth, and we actually got to take the paper off and see our hard work come together. Now, granted, we still have to stain those seat bottoms, but it was just so rewarding to see kind of the inspiration come together on these chairs. Next up was the staining, and this was probably the easiest part of the whole process because it was literally just one coat. We had to do a couple little sanding things to get some paint off, but it was literally like just do the tack cloth sanding and, you know, get some gloves on, stir the stain, get it all together. And it really was just as easy as dipping a little stain sponge into the stain and wiping it on. And I think we really only did one coat. Because she wanted them to keep a light kind of tone to them, but she just didn't want it to be bare wood. So we literally just did one light coat of stain. Super easy. It's not intimidating at all. And again, like I said, this was probably the easiest part of the whole project. Going around the spindles was a little bit trickier, just because I didn't want to get stain on the actual spindles of the paint. So that part was a little bit tedious. But again, I kind of just like squeezed the stain into the little areas, and it worked out just perfectly. Anywhere there was a little bit of extra stain, I just, you know, wiped off the excess. Once they were dry enough, we brought them inside to get them out of the 100+ degree temperature. The next step was to add polyurethane, and the guy at Lowe's suggested this type of spray on, but it was a little bit windy, and so the first coat was not going on well, but I wanted to just go ahead and give it a shot because, you know, the guy at Lowe's said that it would work. I was frustrated, and we got the first coat on, brought them inside. The coat goes on, and this is where things got a little bit kind of haywire because I really wasn't sure on this. Then the polyurethane can started dripping. That's when I decided that we were going to just switch and use the wipe-on polyurethane. So grabbed some sandpaper and just kind of smoothed out what we had already done with the polyurethane. Can't see it in the video, but I mean, it's crazy how this one is just not even as smooth. Like, obviously you can't really tell from the video, but spray polyurethane is not it. So then we just sanded off all that polyurethane we just put on and got it prepped and ready for the other type of polyurethane. We went with the same brand, but decided to use the kind that you brush on and not spray on. I picked up the polyurethane from the store and, you know, got it home, stirred it up, grabbed a brush from the garage, and started the process. Only I started seeing little specks of stuff on the chairs, and I was like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't understand what was happening. Well, if you look closely at this brush, this is a used brush. It still had a little bit of tiny bits of paint in it. So when I was using it, it was leaving paint on the chair. So I grabbed the only brand new brush I could find, which is a tiny craft brush, and put the polyurethane on with that. But I got it done, and they were smooth, and it looked great. It was finally time to start sanding and getting the table done. So I grabbed a portable sander that my husband had that was brand new, that we had never used before, and let me tell you, this thing is a dream. Like, I wish we could have used this thing on the chairs. These are the discs that I bought from Lowe's, and you simply just put them on and you turn the sander on, and it literally takes stuff off so quickly. Like, I couldn't even believe how fast it was to sand the top of this table. When my daughter got home from work that day, I showed her how much I had done, and I can't even tell you how fast this went. I mean, I think we got it done in like a couple of hours. We got it to this part. Down to the bare wood, we grabbed the 320 sandpaper and did the final smoothing of the wood, and then used the tack cloth to get all of the little bits off, and then stained it. And this part literally went so fast. Like, I can't believe how fast this table part went. Got out the stain that we used for the chair bottoms, and again, this part was super easy because we just stirred it up, grabbed the sponge, and wiped it on. This had a little bit of extra on it, so we did wipe off any extra. But yeah, this table part went so much faster than those chairs. Final two steps was just doing the light sanding and putting the polyurethane on, which went on super smooth. We did about 3 coats, and then it was finally time for the last step. The last part was painting this underside piece in the green color that we used on the chairs. So we just sanded that bottom piece a little bit so that the paint would stick, and then we used the cleaner to kind of clean off these little clasps and anything on the underside that was dirty, and used tack cloth there, got out the green paint, and started to paint these interior corners, and then remembered that, like, oh duh, those aren't even going to be seen because the legs are going to be in there. But anyways, I wanted to see what it was going to look like once it was all painted. But anyway, decided to go ahead and tape off all of the edges so that it would be a lot easier to paint and we could just get it done really quickly. Because this was the last part, and after 9 days of this project, I was ready for it to be done. So the most satisfying part is peeling the tape of the final step of the project, and then it was just left to cure before we could take it to her apartment when she moved in. And I can't believe that, you know, how this project turned out. It started as this old table that we got for free from the Buy Nothing group. We turned it into this. This is at her apartment when she got it all set up. It's amazing what a little paint, stain, and some hard work will do. I will link what I can in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.